I'm just trying to do a good job. There are a lot of quirks about our house. And one that has been bothering me for as long as we have lived here is the cupboards in our workroom. This half-pint cupboard sits above the staircase and would have been a reasonable use of space if you're putting clothes in it. But because this is our workroom, it meant that any time I wanted to get something out of, say, this box, I had to pull them all out just to get to that one. Stranger than the half-pint was the full-height closet immediately next to it. The weirdest thing about this cupboard was the fact that there was a window in it, which seemed like it was a waste of precious light on the north side of the house. More disappointing than baffling was that the cupboard was full of boxes of all of my art books, which I would have much preferred having regular access to on a nice shelf. Having given the situation a bit of thought, I decided the best way to make it less mad would be to remove the big cupboard, move access to the small cupboard around the corner, and replace the front of it with a nice big bookshelf. I got to work starting with emptying the cupboards. Because everything is in boxes, all of my stuff helpfully doubled as a temporary wall to keep the construction zone contained. Or maybe that should be destruction. I got a dust sheet up and started on the demolition. Adding to the quirk index, this little cupboard had not one but 2 light switches inside. No combination of switching them did anything. So I found the other end of them were just bare wires in the attic. They weren't connected to anything, so they were safe to remove. Getting down to the studs didn't take too long, but once I got there, I ground to a halt. As much as I could tell myself, it's only a stud, and it definitely wasn't supporting anything above or below. Ripping out a wall is not something to be taken lightly. So I plucked up the courage to remove it, and thanks to some inaccessible nails, the stud fought to hang on, but I eventually won the battle and got the area clear. With it all cleared out, I decided I could do one better for storage while I was at it. So I cut a hatch into the void between the staircase and the cupboard.
Ha! That was easy.
I then made a drawer out of some of the scrap wood the workshop is drowning in. Which took a bit of tweaking, but eventually it slotted in on some runners nicely. Even though most of what I demolished was going to be hidden by my cupboard design, I couldn't really let myself leave big holes in the wall behind it. I put some sand and cement into the big gap and left that to dry for a few days, then tidied up the failing wallpaper. It's interesting bringing walls back to plaster, as you can see some of the history of the building. I started getting the distinct feeling that I was undoing one of Bob's projects by removing this closet. Removing the wallpaper was surprisingly the messiest part of the demolition, so I cleaned up again and started throwing filler in all of the holes. After making my garage cupboards out of MDF, I vowed to spend the money to make these office cupboards out of plywood. With the extortionate price of birch plywood at the moment, I compromised by paying out for birch only for the external surfaces and used cheaper ply to go inside the cupboard. Lily helped me move the sheets down to the workshop, and with the cost of these sheets in the front of my mind, I decided I should pop a new blade in my circular saw to get the best results possible.
That's why they sent me, and I'm an expert.
Just like removing the studs, it was also quite daunting cutting these sheets up, knowing how valuable they were. But turning them into a shelving unit didn't take very long. I even cut dados and rabbits with my circular saw, which went pretty well. And the dry fit went well too. So I took the good advice of putting some finish on the wood before I rushed into final assembly, putting some Osmo oil left over from another project onto it all, before bringing it upstairs for final assembly. Once it was assembled, Lily helped me manoeuvre it into place, which looks a lot smoother in time-lapse than it felt in person. There was a lot of "there's no way this is going to fit" being thought by us both, until it suddenly slotted into place perfectly. Then with it all level and straight, I added a couple of carefully placed screws to make sure it would stay put. Some of the gaps around the shelf needed a bit of expanding foam before I could fill them in too. Then after more sanding and filling, I went back to the workshop to fit out the rest of the cupboard. The cheaper plywood was terrible, and it seemed to get worse the further I got into the project.
Look at the state of this plywood.
But at a quarter of the price of the birch ply, I knew what I was getting myself into. Doing anything that fits to a 100-year-old house, though, meant a lot of cutting, carrying it all the way through the house and testing whether it would fit before it did finally come together. So with that and all of the filling done, I began throwing a fresh coat of paint on everything. It's very much a minimum viable job with the paint until we make other decisions about redecorating the room, but it's still made a massive improvement. Lastly, I had to construct the fronts for the storage. The drawer needed a handle. I thought about the nice dish-shaped pull I had on the old cupboard door, but Lily suggested it would be better to have it flush. I thought about getting a kitchen cabinet door and cutting it down, but they're even worse value than the plywood, so I got a finger pull router bit and cut one myself, which went pretty well. What was much harder though, was figuring out how to attach the drawer front in the right place. I eventually decided to put the screws in slightly proud so I could push the front in against them and mark the right location before screwing them in properly, but this was still a massive fiddle. Up top, the cupboard needed a door too. I managed to cock up one of my cuts, which left me worried that I didn't have a big enough piece of birch left to do a single door. But once I trimmed the bad cut, the fit was still fine. The curved ceiling in this nook was a problem as it stopped the single door from opening completely. So I thought about making a double door with a piano hinge, but Lily put the kibosh on that idea. I had to make a compromise somewhere though, and I ended up cutting a little dog ear off the door to allow it to swing open enough to still get things in and out of the cupboard. After one last cleanup, I was finally ready to do the best bit, unpacking some of these boxes. This cupboard hasn't abstracted all of my storage needs away, but it has greatly improved the situation. And with the wall of boxes finally broken down and squirreled away, I finally got to see the difference I have made to the room. I knew in the abstract that opening the bigger cupboard up and exposing its window would make the room feel bigger, but its impact has been more significant than I had imagined. Just having that corner makes it feel like the room goes on a lot further, like the ultimate shadow gap, I suppose. You really have to be in that nook to see that there isn't anything around the bend. I'm really happy with how it turned out. In some respects, it exceeded what I'd imagined. I'm so happy to have my books again as well. It helps make the room feel a lot more inspiring a place. Thanks for watching my video.